The next section in the pom.xml is the build section, which has the Maven shade plugin. This Maven shade plugin brings in another way to package our Maven Lambda function project, that is as a jar file. Earlier, when you have used the sam build command, the classes were compiled, the dependencies were copied inside the .aws-sam folder. It has created a build folder. Inside that, we have our code. So let's go in there once, cd build, and then cd hello world function. And in here, we have the compiled class file, and all the dependencies are under the lib section if you have the dependencies. Now, when you deploy this, what happens is that in the template.aml, you have this code URI, and we say this is the folder you have to look inside the build directory for our code. So it will go against the build directly when you do a SAML or SAM deploy, and it will pick the class file from here, takes the dependencies in here, it will package them as a zip file, and it will push them onto S3 environment. From there, from the S3 service, it will go to the Lambda service eventually. Another way to package, instead of having the class file separately like this, then the dependencies under lib like this, another way to package is to use this shade plugin. Copy this name, Maven shade plugin, launch your web browser, do a search, go to the Apache Maven shade plugin site. This plugin is not specific to AWS Lambdas. It can be used by any Maven project. This very first line here summarizes what it does. It packages the artifact, that is our project, in an Uber jar. If you have worked with Spring Boot, then you already know what fat jars or Uber jars are. That is, it includes the dependencies inside that jar file as well, and it can also rename the packages of those dependencies as required. All it means is that this hello world project will be packaged into a jar file, and all the dependencies we have defined here will be included inside that jar file, unlike what we have here separately, a class file and then a lib folder. That's all that is. It's up to you, a personal choice, and whatever your team is using, you can deploy it as a jar or like this. Eventually, what gets to the Lambda service environment is a zip file, all that is happening behind the scenes for us. So to use this, let me come back to the project directory. I am under the AWS SAM, come out of that, clear this. Right now I am under the SAM project. I have to go inside the Maven project, which is hello world function. Go back to Eclipse, do a Control Z to bring these dependencies back so that I can demonstrate how this shade plugin works and how it creates the Uber jar. Now we have two dependencies under the dependencies section, and this third one transitively came in, and even this Hamcrest thing, they all transitively came in because of these two dependencies we have in here. And the Hamcrest actually belongs to JUnit. We don't have to worry about it. JUnit transitively got that in. Now go to the command line under the project where you have the pom.xml, execute Maven package. Package is the goal that will package our project, but if you see, it will trigger the shade goal as well. That is how the shade plugin is automatically configured. When the package is run, when our project is being packaged, it invokes the shade plugin. And now if you go to the target directory of your project, right now I am under the first Lambda. I go into hello function, go to the target directory, see this hello world jar file. This jar file has our compiled class. It has the dependencies as well inside it in a single jar file. Right click, you can extract this with WinZip, or you can use a jar command to see the contents of it. I have the unarchiver on Mac. You can use WinZip, etc. Extract it. There I have a folder. See this, all the classes. This hello world is our own package, but this com, Amazon, AWS, these classes are from the first and second dependencies we have. These dependencies, these two, all those are inside here, events, and then the runtime. Next we have org. This is a transitive dependency, which is the Zoda library, the time library that came in. So that is how we can package our application. That is another way of doing it. When you do it this way, you will have to point to that target directory and jar file in your template. See this code URI? This code URI in your template.yaml is pointing to hello world function, which is under your project. If I come back to the project, when we do a SAM build, we have this AWS SAM. If I do a ls.aws SAM, we have the build directory, ls.aws SAM/build. You have the hello world function. So this hello world function is what this guy is pointing to. When you do a SAM deploy, it is looking at this hello world function. It is using the contents inside it. Instead of that, you can point it to the jar file under the target directory, and then it will pick that jar file. It will use that jar file to do the deployment. That is another way of doing it. So if some teams are using the jar file way of deploying, don't be surprised. At the end of it, what gets to the Lambda service itself is a zip file. Thanks to SAM, all that is happening for us behind the scenes.